Hey folks, today I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about what it means to be calm in the face of chaos. Specifically, why it is that I never seem overly distressed or concerned when I talk about the regularly occurring unfortunate events here in South Africa. You see, whether it takes the form of a flood or some sort of civil unrest or riot, I am generally almost unfazed by the things that occur in this country, and I wanted to explain why that is. Because my calm demeanor is almost disturbing to those who have never had any direct experience living in the third world. And so I wanted to make clear why things are the way they are, at least as I see them. You see, although many white South Africans, most in fact, have been raised and surrounded by the Western ethic, as you might call it, South Africa is most certainly not a Western country. Things are fundamentally different here in ways that someone who's grown up in the West simply can't understand at a practical level unless they experience it for themselves. Violence, and particularly extreme brutality, may, in the West, seem to be abnormal or events that don't occur with much regularity. Although I'm sad to see that is slowly changing as the forces of cultural decay set in. But for me as a South African, hearing and seeing extreme violence isn't strange. It is part of daily life when you live in this area of the world. I'm not saying that that's a good thing. In fact, I obviously do not think it's a good thing. Living in a place where there is the constant threat of violence has negative psychological effects that take years to learn to cope with. And I can tell you, living here and seeing what I've seen, particularly having worked in journalism and emergency services throughout the course of my adult life, I can tell you that the experiences I've both witnessed directly and had to report on have left a profound and often damaging effect on me. But you see, therein lies the reason why when I talk about unpleasant or vicious and violent events, that's why I'm calm. To give you a more practical and less disturbing example, the South African power grid, which many of my followers will now be aware is completely unstable and constantly at risk of complete collapse, has been that way since before I completed high school. I am now into my 30s, so there's only so much energy you can put into constantly being outraged when things are falling apart around you. Eventually, you get to a point of acceptance. Basically, you realize, okay, this is the way things are, and I've got to adapt and make the best of whatever situation I'm faced with. And this is the general South African attitude. Most of us, when bad things happen, don't freak out, we don't take to the streets, we don't burn and destroy things. Well, a segment of our community does, but for my own safety, legally speaking, I better not be too specific about that. But yes, as I was saying, for the most part, South Africans don't freak out and destroy what's around us. we just have this mentality of whatever's happening, we're gonna get on with life. So that is why, to someone with Western eyes, I might seem desensitized or unfazed by the things that take place here. But what that truly is a survival mechanism. Because if you live in a country like I do, and you're upset at every negative event or horrific catastrophe that takes place, I guarantee you won't last a month before you end up in a mental institution. Well, I hope that made at least some sense to you, and that it's been helpful for you in understanding my perspective as a South African local. For now, farewell.